The elevator, a marvel of modern technology, an intricate mechanism reimagining the confines of human mobility, a slightly quicker way to move to a place really close to where you are now. The elevator. But how does one conduct himself while riding the lateral lioness? Though the metal chariot has been around for a long while, the decorum demanded remains to the masses a social mystery. That is, wait for it, until now. This broadcast will guide you through the counterbalance contraption cues, the belligerent background music behaviors, the various vertical volitions, and every encompassing example of implied elevator etiquette. Well, gee, that sure sounds like a lot of almonds for one kangaroo. Oh, little Jimmy, that's a terrible metaphor. But yes, it might seem like there's a lot of information to take in all at once. Luckily, all you need to do, little Jimmy, is remember 5. 5? How does that number make it easier to sort out my peas and carrots? Better, but still a pretty bad metaphor. 5, little Jimmy, is actually an acronym for the 4 categories. 5 stands for flatulence, inhibitions of the iris, vibratory airflow, and engulfing entrees. By truly understanding how the 4 or 5 apply to an elevator situation, you would be king of the Pulley Palace in no time. This program is brought to you by Uncle Chester's Candied Endives. Uncle Chester's Candied Endives. The more you eat them, the more you still don't want to. Let us get right into the swing of things. Or shall I say, the smell of things. Number 1. Flatulence. It is well known that elevators do not come equipped with a functional ventilation system due to the likelihood that there would not be a fire hazard otherwise. You might already be aware that releasing noxious air while enclosed in the mobilized mass is less than courteous. The challenge, then, is avoiding a situation where such a ghoulish gas will be posteriorly accessible in the first place. If you know you will be riding the elevator tomorrow, make sure to ingest any internal pressure-inducing morsels, such as foreign foods, beans of any kind, or anything we advertise on this program, no less than 14 hours and 32 minutes before slumber. In the case that you were not able to prepare in advance, and the digested demon is inside of you, make arrangements to expel the overbearing odor prior to boarding the barricaded box. Just find an alleyway or a public restroom, or you can relieve the pressure on a city bus, thereby doing a public service by making the city buses smell better. If you do not live close enough to alleyways or public restrooms, and you do not wish to use the city buses, just let it out in your nice suburban home. After all, you probably enjoy the smell of your own anyway. In either case, it is imperative that you make certain to always ride the elevator in groups of 3, just in case. Number 2. Inhibitions of the iris. Now, little Jimmy, it's not nice to stare at people in the elevator. But he has a knife! If I told you a man with a knife was jumping off a cliff, would you stare at him? Oh geez, I guess not. That's right. Though it might be tempting to take a gander at a gorgeous gal, or optically peruse a peculiar passerby, that type of behavior is not appropriate for truncated transportation. The elevator is a sacred space, where everyone feels a certain equal amount of shame in the mere obscurity and arbitrariness with which we carry out our daily routine. Alas, as William Shakespeare once mused, life is but a walking shadow, a brief candle. Just stare outwards into the vast nothingness that already comprises our existence. It is with the collective ennui that we truly unite as a race of humans in our quest to achieve, or at least veil, purpose. If you must stare at something tangible, use an imperfection in the wall immediately across from you. Do not adjust your vision any more than necessary. Remember, elevator cables can smell fear. Speaking of smell, we would like to thank our sponsor, Aunt Mildred's Spinach Flavored Cigarettes. Aunt Mildred's Spinach Flavored Cigarettes. A healthy way to get your kids to eat their vegetables. That's the Mildred motto. Speaking of speaking, it is time for the third out of 5 on our list. Number 3. Vibratory airflow. Whether it be talking about business, humming a Gershwin tune, or jiving out some scat like Satchmo, it won't fly on the levitating landmass. Surely enough, there will be a strong desire to break up the monotony by adding some of your own. But this, besides for terminating the aforementioned introspection, will induce a strong desire among the rest of the parallel propulsion patrons to engage in proportionately loud speech. It can possibly reach a volume loud enough that no one will hear the ring that indicates the right floor has been reached. How else would people know that the door is open if it wasn't for that faint bell occurring at the same time? However, you may, if you wish, discuss your opinion on the socio-political ramifications of engaging in the mainstream consumer culture, for the simple fact that no one will be listening to you. For this reason, even communists are allowed on elevators. Well, I guess that's one for the Reds. I mean, I love capitalism. Don't take away my broadcasting job. It's time for the 4th out of 5 and final step in navigating the nuances of nifty non-exertion. Number 4. Engulfing entrees. If you followed my previous advice, you went way too long without having any candied endives. You might want to take advantage of the presumed silence and lack of eye contact to indulge your craving. However, you cannot make a more dreadful mistake. Besides for the supplementary noise produced and the possibility that quick digestion can lead to a violation of rule number 1, the elevator is, simply put, just too damn fancy for your human sustenance nonsense. For 40 years, the Israelites wandered through the desert, eating nothing but magic sky bread. The American Indian were forced to journey through the Midwest, and eating nothing but gambling chips, I'm assuming. And you, little Jimmy, can't hold back on those buttered berry balls for a few moments while wading whimsically through the willowed womb of witty industrial wonderment? Well, I guess you can't spell Jimmy without M-Y. Or I. You should really be ashamed of yourself and your parents for not raising you properly, and them theirs. Oh, shucks. I was just trying to get some quasi-nutrition in for the short, but not too short ride. Oh, little Jimmy. Little Jimmy, I can't stay mad at you. That's why I'm going to punish you now while I still am. No more buttered berry balls for 3 weeks. I don't even know who you are, sir. You're just a guy I met on the garage level. But I guess it's the 50s, so there's nothing to worry about. Well, that concludes our correspondence on cultivating character while conducting cohabitation on the convoluted carrier contraption. To review, always remember to feign flatulence, inhibit the iris, vex vibratory airflow, and exterminate the engulfing of entrees. I hope you enjoy your next elevator ride properly and with newly found confidence. Furthermore, remember to tell others and teach your children, since the tomorrow of today will always implicate the today of tomorrow. And finally, the most important thing to remember, this whole endeavor was brought to you and yours by the fine folks down at the Buttered Barrel Corporation, makers of the Buttered Berry Ball. Buttered berry balls. Not just butter, but mostly butter.